Well, greetings, Boise State fans. Welcome on back. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. It's Mondays with Mallory here on Bronco Nation News Live. We got John Mallory, KTIK, Idaho Sports Talk, 95.3, The Ticket. He's there in the RowPaint.com studios in downtown Boise. Johnny, fresh off a heck of a finish to the Super Bowl, man. And I know that's the big game most people are talking about, but had a big game with a controversial finish in Boise as well that we want to talk to mostly about. But happy Monday, man. You don't look hungover or anything. You look good, ready to go.
Yeah, not hungover. Got to bed on time. Had some fun last night, not too much. And again, this is National Hangover Day typically, but BJ, we've been talking. It's February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to all the wonderful folks on BNN right now, right? BJ, we got work to do tonight, don't we? I mean, it's Valentine's Day. I couldn't be hungover today. So I'm fired up on a Monday. I'm ready to go. Obviously, you hit the nail on both heads there. A lot to talk about this morning. Fire away.
I know we're keeping an eye on all the events and games yesterday and things going on, but obviously Extra Mile Arena, man, the crowd wasn't huge, but the folks that were there were into it. They were loud. The diehards brought it, and they saw a heck of a game. Colorado State going up by 13 in the first half. Boise State using the 17-3 run, getting back in the game. It's back and forth, and Boise State goes up by 7 there in the second half, and then unable to keep the lead and had the whole controversial finish. 19-6, Boise State drops 2 with the loss. Obviously, 10-2 now in conference play, a full game behind Wyoming. Now only a game up on Colorado State for third place as well. Where do you want to take this thing, man? Obviously, a lot of fans, I already saw them on social media last night saying that the 2-2 in February, the late season slide has begun. Again, both losses are to top 40 ranked teams here. So are you concerned or what do you make of, now 2 losses in the last 3 games and obviously overtime loss last night and a controversial call that we're going to get to?
Am I concerned? If I'm a Boise State fan, I guess you're always a little concerned this time of year with Boise State basketball, but I think this team's different, man. I think, look, you win close games. This team has done it. You lose close games. This team recently has done it a little bit. Acott, if we get to eventually, they need him back. I think that is absolutely evident. I don't know if they lose those 2 games with a healthy E-man, right, BJ? I mean, what he does ball handling, what they can do with him defensively, big piece of the puzzle. What we're going to get, though, is I think everybody's going to win with this thing. And I'll say it by, it's no more football season, huh? Football season is done. This is that time of year we transfer over. We start getting pumped up. We start counting days. 5 Sundays away from Selection Sunday, BJ. We start doing that countdown. Everybody's going to get a terrific show. Certainly when it comes to the Mountain West, you hit it on the head again with those standings. There's 6 games left, certainly for Boise State. I'm not sure what everybody else has with the quirkiness of the schedule, but it's going to be a heck of a ride to get to that conference tournament in Vegas. It's going to be good games. You'll win some, you'll lose some. I think for Boise State, you got to win a lot more than you lose here down the stretch, right?
No doubt about it. And we are live on both the social media channels of Bronco Nation News as well as 95.3 The Ticket, KTIK as well. So greetings to folks watching on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on any of those channels. And hopefully you'll give both of our YouTube pages a like and a subscribe as well to help us build our channels here. And a lot to get to, Johnny, and let's just get right to this final play. That's the one everybody's been talking about. And, Randy McCall, our guy, he's a nice guy. We've talked to him courtside several times, going back a decade of you and me almost courtside at Extra Mile Arena. Randy McCall's been reffing games for a long time. He's ref 6 Final Fours. Johnny, he was one of the 3 officials for the Baylor-Gonzaga national championship just last year to get the chance to ref that game. It's clear that he is one of the elite officials in the game, but he screwed up. He screwed up royally, and I'm sure he would admit that if he could or if he had the chance to. And I actually have emailed Randy McCall. I got an email address for him and sent him an email. I'm not sure I'll get a response, but I did take a shot because the statement from John Higgins left a lot to be desired still after the game. John Higgins, another official that's ref the championship game. He's all over the place on big Mondays. And, you had an elite crew yesterday, but they had a whole mess on their hands at the end of the game. If folks have comments about what they saw, whether it was a foul, whatever you think, let us know, and we'll get to it. Let's just play it, Johnny, and kind of talk this thing through. You got 8 seconds left in the game. I'll mute it so we can hear it a little better. Tie game, 8.3 seconds left after Marcus Shaver Jr. hits the three. And Isaiah Stevens, drives the strip by Abu Kijab, and right there's clearly a foul. The only problem is there's, nobody knows what happens here, first of all. And so there's Kijab. Would you agree that that's a 9 times out of 10 at most spots in the game, that's a foul there? Can we start with that?
Yeah, that's a blocking foul. And I'm surprised Randy McCall, as you said, with his illustrious career in officiating, didn't just call that. My initial thought was that Randy McCall didn't want to call that because it would have been obviously a deciding factor. Now, let me ask you this. Was Boise State in the bonus?
1-1. Would have been a 1-1 for Abu Kijab
to win the game. I think Randy McCall hesitated ever so quickly there, and he was like, dude, I'm not making this call. That's a game-deciding call. I'm not going to make it. And then that just started, like sometimes like when you tell one lie, BJ, you have to tell 3 more lies after that to cover up the original lie. I just thought, dang, dude, Randy McCall should have made that call. To me, you're right. I've been covering basketball a long time. You rarely see that not called. And
well, I will say this: late in the game, you do a lot of times see the refs swallow their whistle when there's 10 seconds left and the guy drives. You know how it is. A lot of times they don't
do it. What I was saying, they don't want to finish a game on one of those type of calls. But in that situation, the more you look at it, the more you just say that's the definition of a block. That's a foul.
And they always, the whole old argument, Johnny, is to let the players decide the games. Well, Isaiah Stevens decided the play by fouling there. I mean, he did decide it by pushing Abu Kijab or the blocking foul. We'll hear it with the sound here because I think you need to hear when the whistle blows, Johnny, in terms of the sound of what happens. Well, it's not till about 0.2 seconds left. If you look at the clock up there. Okay, now Randy McCall has no idea what he's doing here. He's looking around. He doesn't point. He realizes royally that he's screwed up here. And again, this is not to bash on Randy McCall for 30 minutes. He's a good official, but he screwed this up. And Johnny, every win matters for Boise State right now when this comes to the tournament and things like that. So here is the first of all, the statement from John Higgins. John Higgins was the lead official. This statement given to the Mountain West was attributed to him. And by the way, the referees had like 5:30 flights, so they were hightailing it out of here last night. Overtime probably wasn't helping them. But he says, Randy McCall thought Abu Kijab went out of bounds and blew his whistle. By rule, with less than 2 minutes remaining, I called for a review. It was determined that Kijab did not go out of bounds. At that point, it becomes an inadvertent whistle. So first of all, based on that, saying he thought Abu Kijab went out of bounds, that he didn't come close to going out of bounds. So, Johnny, we've got Randy McCall screwing up 3 things on this play. First of all, he doesn't call the block. The foul should have been. If you're not going to call that and you're going to let that go, well, then Abu Kijab clearly travels. He takes about 3 steps. He picks the ball up, whether it's double dribble, travel, whatever you want to call it. If you're not going to call the foul, it was a travel. So then he doesn't call that. And then Kijab doesn't step out of bounds. And with 0.1 seconds of, I think, frankly, McCall was hoping the buzzer would sound and it would go to overtime and he wouldn't have to worry about it. But when the buzzer wasn't sounding, he panicked, blew the whistle with 0.2 seconds left. And then all heck breaks loose. So here's another clip. This is courtesy of the Fox Sports broadcast. So right here, he's telling, if you look at it closely, Randy McCall tells Boise State he called timeout. Yeah, he called timeout. Okay, so we're good. So the referees decide, you know what? They know they screwed up. They saw the play on replay. They knew it was a foul, and they didn't call it. So they decide to say, oh, Boise State called timeout. We're going to give them the ball with 1.6 seconds left. Yep. Okay, we're good. So Michael Irving on the left, John Higgins on the left, go to tell Colorado State coaches here, yeah, we're good. They called timeout, 1.6 seconds left. We're going to give them the ball. He called timeout. Well, then the coaches say they don't have any timeouts left. That should be a technical. That should be a T. They don't have any timeouts left. So they decide about it again, and they decide, okay. So at that point, they decided we're going to go with an inadvertent whistle because they can't, Boise State didn't actually call timeout. Randy McCall was just going to say that to cover himself. He can't turn around then and call a technical foul and decide the game on free throws when Boise State did not actually call the timeout. And again, this is courtesy of Fox Sports 1 and me and my amateur filming of this on my TV last night. Now there's Nico Medved going, Randy, what happened? Yep. What happened? You said he called timeout. You said he called timeout. If you read his lips right here, you said he called timeout.
Yep. So Colorado State in that case should be shooting free throws. Yep.
That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. But again, my theory on this, and again, I have emailed Randy McCall. We'll see if we get a response from him or from anybody. My theory that I put on Twitter, Johnny, and tell me if I'm crazy and what you saw there with the lip reading. I believe that Randy McCall obviously screwed up. Somehow he's got to try to cover himself somehow to not admit that he just blew 3 things: an out of bounds, a missed call, and a travel. So he says, we're going to say Boise State called timeout. Boise State, Key-Jab, you called timeout. Key-Jab's like, yeah, I called timeout. You know, sure, yeah, we'll take that, even though he didn't.
Thinking that because he knows he possibly traveled.
Yeah, he doesn't. The alternative is Colorado State getting the ball back with 1 second left, right there.
So Key-Jab's like, saying, yeah, no, I called timeout. Give me the 1.2, and we'll try to figure out something here. Yeah, sure.
Now, it doesn't make up for the foul call. It doesn't make up for missing the foul, but at that point, you'd rather have Boise State ball with 1.6 than Colorado State getting it with 1 second left because of a travel. So Key-Jab's like, yeah, sure, I called it. And you can see that at the beginning of the clip here where Randy McCall's like, yeah, he called timeout. He's like, I called timeout. It's like, yeah, all right, good.
Yeah, Max, he called timeout. We called timeout. Yeah, we called timeout.
But the problem was the referees go over to say this, and Boise State doesn't have any timeouts left.
Yep, they don't have any timeouts, Randy.
So, but at this point, they think, okay, so we're going to say he called timeout. We're good. Again, they go over to tell the Colorado State coaches, oh, yeah, Boise State called timeout. It's going to be their ball with 1.6. Yep. They're good. And right away, you see the coaches go, well, they don't have any timeouts left.
They don't have any timeout.
They don't have any timeouts left. There should be a T. And right away, you see Michael Irving, the referee, turns his head like, oh crap. Yep. So then their plan doesn't work. They can't do that anymore. So they have to just say, well, we screwed up, inadvertent whistle, and Boise State gets the ball. And Nico Medved's saying, well, wait, you said they called timeout. So the referees screwed this up on multiple angles. The issue that I have, Johnny, is it should have been, if it was an inadvertent whistle, the whistle blew at about what, 0.2, 0.3? Yeah. The whistle blew right before the buzzer. So if it was an inadvertent whistle, then the clock should have been put at 0.2 or 0.3. I don't know why. I still can't come up with a reason as to why 1.6 was put on the clock. That's when the foul happened. The foul happened at 1.6. You're almost admitting, we're stopping the play when the foul occurred, but they didn't call the foul. So I don't know. It was crazy being in the building. I know watching on TV was just as crazy as well. First, apparently the TV announcers thought he stepped out of bounds. He clearly didn't. And again, he missed three calls and we got comments chiming in here on the YouTube channel. Scott Stewart, Boise State robbed on the horrible call at the end. He should have been shooting free throws. Eric saying, why hesitate? It's a game deciding call set up by a game deciding defensive play. Make the darn call. Derek saying from the replay, looks like Stevens thinks he got called for the foul. And again, and we can, go down the line here. So many games you think, oh, this is what about ACOT. We'll get to this in a second with ACOT. Bad officiating by Jen Walters, in a hurry to end the game, heartbreaking. Well, they weren't really in a hurry to end the game because it went to overtime. If they were in a hurry to end the game, they would have just called the foul. And then Boise State shoots the free throws and they go home. But two top teams. It was the only game in the country still going on at that point, Johnny, right before the Super Bowl. A lot of people watching. I saw Doug Gottlieb and his 260,000 followers saying it was a crime and that Boise State got jobbed and Randy McCall missed the call. I mean, it's a national story last night and this morning. Just how do you put what we've seen with the video and the coaches' comments and all of this together?
You got to move on, right? Maybe that's not what anybody wants to hear, BJ. You got 6 games left. You are right in the thick of things to punch a ticket to March. You probably should have had an opportunity to win this game with a Abu Key-Jab with a 1-and-1, right? He should be shooting that free throw if he makes it.
And there's no guarantee he makes it, by the way, either.
It's one of the worst free throw shooting teams still in the country. So there's no guarantees there either, but that should have been the scenario. I think if you still stay stuck in the mud talking about how dirty you are, you're never going to get clean, man, right? I think you got to move on, and I'm sure that's what Leon's message is, not my poor analogy, but a better one, saying, it's in the rearview mirror now. I mean, you got to keep moving on, and probably every team in the country, all 358 of them, can probably point to 1, maybe 2 games this year where they would say, hey, we got completely jobbed that game. It kind of happens. I don't know if you don't want robot refs flying around there, maybe with laser technology that can come up, or maybe you do. It's one of those deals, man.
Yep.
You lost a game you probably should have won. It happens in sports. It ticks a lot of people off, and sadly you move on. And you would hate, obviously, the worst possible situation is Colorado State makes the tournament, Boise State is in the first 4 out, and Bronco Nation has to go back and see the BJ Rains tutorial on here of the layer by layer of how they got screwed, and now they're back in the NIT because of this one loss. You hate for that to be the ultimate situation. That's the worst thing that can come of this, right?
Yep.
And the worst thing that can come, BJ, is you didn't make the tournament because of that one game on Super Bowl Sunday. If you win that game, measurements would all say you're in. I don't think that's going to be the case, though. At least I would hope not for this fan base. But ultimately, you're right. You don't want what happened yesterday to cost you your season. And sometimes when you're sitting there on Selection Sunday, fingers crossed, hoping you get in, you hope something like that doesn't come back to bite you, bud.
And I think that's why Leon Rice was so frustrated. We'll hear from him in a second. He was very short with the media, very short answers, really, wasn't in a mood to talk. He was very frustrated visibly about what potentially that game could have meant. I mean, that game did not knock them out of the tournament, Johnny. They're still an NCAA tournament team.
Absolutely.
If the tournament were tomorrow. But the problem is now you go on the road. Air Force on the road is no gimme. Boise State has played terrible at Air Force historically. If you remember, Leon Rice got ejected at Air Force a couple of years ago. They just don't play well there. That's a classic trap game that you just cannot afford to lose. Right as Randall Clark is saying here, it's a classic trap game. And so I think the problem is, Johnny, that and the frustration is that game didn't knock them out. But now you go on the road to play Air Force. And then, oh, by the way, you got Utah State, San Diego State coming up right after that. You still have to play at Colorado State. You still have to play at UNLV. I mean, all of a sudden here, 2 or 3 more losses, and they might be back on that bubble and potentially on the wrong side. So they're not there yet, but I think this game does, with so many hard games still ahead, open the door for, okay, if it puts a little more pressure on some of these upcoming games. Would you admit that?
I would. But BJ, I'll flip it and I'll answer a question with the question. Do you feel like it's slipping away?
No.
Do you think this fan base feels like it's slipping away? I don't either. I don't. The fans maybe. I don't feel like it's slipping away. You're going to lose tough games down the stretch. And when you said stuff like, the Bakersfield loss, that Irvine loss, right? Those are the things that turn a resume from a 24-6 to a 22-8, and it just looks better, right? So hopefully that, but no, I don't feel like it's slipping away. Get ACOT back, get full strength, do what you want to do. You're going to win probably a lot more games than you're going to lose. Obviously, this is a tough stretch. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple games in there. They could lose to San Diego State. They could lose to Utah State. I'm not buying the Air Force thing with this team. They're too damn focused. They're too damn mature. This team is not going to go into Colorado Springs and lose to Air Force. That's not going to happen, in my opinion.
Yep. And that'll tell us a lot about this team. If they go down there and win that game and handle their business, and this team is different. But if they go down there and something happens and they do lose that game, then I think it's fair to say, okay, the wheels are coming off.
Because I think last year you could feel it was slipping away.
Well, again, the 2 games, Johnny, they lost,
slipping away.
They were tied. They were tied at Wyoming with 3 minutes left and lose the game to the number 30 ranked KenPom team. And now Colorado State is ranked 32 at KenPom, and you lose on overtime when you maybe should have won. So you're talking about 2 losses, both at in the final seconds, to teams ranked in the top 32 in the country. These are not the loss to Fresno last year, who was ranked 200 at KenPom or whatever. These are not the Air Force on Wednesday type of game. Again, we'll get there Wednesday if that happens. But right now, you've lost 2 close games to 2 teams that are going to the NCAA tournament. So there are a lot of fans, Johnny, yes, that are already worried and thinking that the slide has begun and the end of the season is here. I'm not there yet. I think there's a lot of games left, but I do think the pressure has mounted a little more now. You cannot afford a lot more losses. You've got to win a lot of these games. And so did that game yesterday knock them out of the tournament? No. But did that game yesterday all of a sudden put the pressure to make sure you win some of these games coming up? Yes. I think it's going to be it's getting a little tighter. It is. I think that, they have a lot of work to do. I mean, there's a scenario, Johnny, where they don't make the tournament here.
Yes.
I mean, there is a scenario now where they could lose enough games and go down to Vegas needing to win 1 or 2 games again. And we think about where this team was and again, they're not there yet, but you got 6 games left. I think what 3-3 does 3-3 get them in? I don't think it does. I mean, you got to go at least 4-2.
4-2, and then win a game in Vegas, and I think you're okay if that's the scenario. I mean, you don't want to get into a popularity contest on Selection Sunday with two groups. One, about any group of 5 team, any Power 5 team in a football sense from a major conference. You don't want to get into a resume comparison with those guys. And historically, you don't want to get into a resume comparison with San Diego State. If all things are even, essentially, according to the committee, San Diego State probably gets the bid over Boise State, because San Diego State goes to the tournament, 7-8 times every decade? So Boise State needs to leave no doubt. It's like something you would read on the back of a Boise State football t-shirt in spring ball. Leave no doubt, finish strong, whatever the cliche you want to use. That's what these guys have to do here. If they go 3-3 down the stretch, and maybe they go 1-1 in the Mountain West tournament, I think they're sitting there on Selection Sunday still wondering if they're in.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And again, they're not there yet, but they are getting a little closer. Leon Rice, after the game, again, was pretty short. Let's hear from Coach Rice, his thoughts after a tough one last night.
On the end of regulation and how that played out.
Hey, what are you talking about?
With just a whistle and not knowing whose ball it was and what was going on, and if there was should have been a foul, and just that way the last couple seconds played out.
Yeah, that was a tough way to not win the game. Is what I'll say.
What kind of explanation did you get for everything?
None.
I don't mean to pry on them, but the end of regulation, they're like, what's the communication like? Because it seemed like it went, whatever the call was, it went like 3 different ways, and nobody really knew after they finally did make the call. So what's the communication like for you guys?
There's nothing I can say about it. Like I said, I was proud of all these guys, the way they just, they played heavy minutes tonight in a hot, high possession game that was really physical and really, and they just kept reaching deeper and deeper to give us more. And so, like I said, I don't remember when I've been more proud of a team. We're all disappointed that it ended the way it ended, and it's a tough one, but there's not much more they could have done. They really couldn't have. And, it comes down to one play, really, here or there.
Coming out on the losing end of that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We've won all those close games, and we were in a position to win it. And if one or two things go our way, then we probably do. I'm just so proud of them. I mean, they all played almost 40-plus minutes, and they just gave everything they had. And have it come down to weird circumstance like that's kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth.
Probably going to take some time.
Yeah. It's you don't get over this one very quickly because it was a weird one. But these guys are tough. They'll bounce back. We'll make sure of it.
What do you make of Leon's comments there, John? What do you make, Leon?
I love it, man. First off, I love Leon. That's a tough way to not lose a game.
No, not win a game.
I'm sorry, to not win a game. Thank you. He didn't say the word lose, is what I meant to say, right? It's a tough way to not win a game. Yeah, I love it, man. Leon cracks me up, dude. But yeah, he was obviously short with that, and I heard that was your question, the first one, and he I love it, BJ. I was thinking about this too. From a Colorado State point of view, if Boise State wins that game, let's say in overtime, then the Colorado State fan base can say, whoa, no, we should have been shooting technical free throws. They said they called a timeout. Like, they would have messed up for Colorado State too if Colorado State would have lost, right? I mean, that was kind of
that's why the comment from John Higgins made no sense. That it was how it works is that in the NFL you can actually send a pool reporter in to interview the referee, and then you can ask questions, and then the state, all what is said gets released to everybody. That's not how it works in the Mountain West or anymore. It actually used to be like that. I don't know if you remember or not, John. You and me were courtside. Boise State won on a buzzer beater against UNLV. UNLV actually hit the buzzer beater, and then they went back and reviewed it, and the ball was still on his fingertips, like barely at the buzzer, and they said no basket. that was actually Randy McCall. He made the correct call there. I went in the locker room and interviewed Randy and was able to get some comments and distributed them, but they changed the rule after that to now where a Boise State official, it was Joe Nickel in this case, goes in, gets a statement from the referees, sends it to the Mountain West. They make sure it looks okay, and then the Mountain West releases the statement. So there was no opportunity to ask any questions, and all the statement said was the fact that that he thought he went out of bounds. He didn't. Doesn't even mention the timeout in the statement. Doesn't mention why the clock was put at 1.6. So there's just so many unanswered questions. Yeah. Eric saying, but nobody called timeout. They made that up as a makeup call. Yes, that's what I thought they did. Yeah, they were going to make the timeout up as a makeup call, and then they realized that Boise State didn't have any timeouts, so they couldn't do it. Here's David Roddy, who, by the way, I love talking to David Roddy. He seems like a good dude. He's a heck of a player. Here's his quick thoughts on the final play.
What was your take on what happened there at the end of regulation when they blew the whistle and then wasn't sure whose ball it was?
Yeah, it was confusing, and I could tell. I mean, you got to give the refs some slack. I know it was craziness, with the crowd and everything. So they said he was out of bounds first, and then he wasn't out of bounds. They researched it, then it was a timeout, but they don't have a timeout, and so they said it was an inadvertent whistle and everything. So we just allowed him to get the ball, and I'm glad he didn't make the shot.
So there you go. And by the way, Abu Kijab actually had a shot there. It was a nice play design. Kijab catches the fadeaway, and I think extra mile arena would have exploded. And I'll tell you this, nobody else in America wanted that shot to go in more than Randy McCall.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I can imagine. And, when you win, everything's okay, right? You could tell Roddy wasn't mad about that. They won the game. They're good, and move on. Give the cut the officials some slack. I mean, when you win, everything's up under the rug, right, dude? That's how it happens. But that was a tough situation there. But ultimately, you can watch it any which way. Abu Kijab should have been up the line with a 1-and-1 with less than 2 seconds left, and that should have been the call. For whatever reason, I think Randy McCall got a little gun shy there, and he thought, I don't want to blow the game, or I don't want to end the game on this cheesy blocking foul. But it was a cheesy blocking foul, man. Stevens committed the foul, and like you said, you see that in so many cases. But I guess it gives a lot of people in Bronco Nation to talk about, and we'll see if it comes back ultimately to bite this team in the backside. I don't think it will. This team's tough, like Leon said. It's a veteran group of guys. It's going to be an interesting stretch run, but if it falls apart, that's going to be another tough pill to swallow regarding this basketball program and this fan base. But I don't think that's going to happen, BJ.
Turns to Wednesday now. Air Force is 10-13. They are 3-9 in conference play. They have lost 5 games in a row. Boise State given an 81% chance at Ken Pom to win. The predicted score is Boise State 63, Air Force 53. So Ken Pom has Boise State winning by about 10 according to the computer numbers. Going to be interesting, Johnny. That's a game you got to win. And then as we wrap this up, you come home. If you win that one, you come home for 2 huge games. Utah State, 4 o'clock on Saturday, and then San Diego State a week from tomorrow. What do you think if Randy McCall has to come back to Boise for another game this year?
He will. He'll probably come back several times, right? Randy McCall is always in Boise.
San Diego State, Nevada, one of these home games, you think he's probably coming back.
Yeah, hopefully the fans will give it to him there a little bit. I'm sure they will. But, Randy McCall, like you said, he's officiated national championship games.
6 Final Fours, 2 national title games, just did the Baylor-Gonzaga game.
He's made mistakes before. Yep. He'll make mistakes again.
Yep. But again, Boise State, if you get an offensive rebound, you have, or if you don't allow 2 offensive rebounds for Colorado State in overtime that lead to the winning bucket from Roddy with 30 seconds left, we're maybe not in this situation. If Malad Narmouche hits another free throw with 6 seconds left, you go to double OT. I mean, Boise State had numerous chances in this game, couldn't pull it off. Appreciate it, Johnny. What do we got? 95.3 Idaho Sports Talk. I'm sure you're going to dive deep into that Rams Super Bowl win. What we got today?
Super Bowl and Boise State basketball moving forward. Be a good one. Get Bob Beeler's take and Bronco focus. So I don't exactly know. We got our pre-show meeting starting in about a half hour. We're going to circle the wagons like we do on Monday, figure out our guests, figure out what segments we want to do for the week. So all part of the process, as you well know. Thanks.
Well, we'll be listening. KTIK.com, the KTIK app, 95.3 FM, 1350 AM as well. And Idaho Sports Talk 3 to 6 today. I'll have more on Boise State's game, the Super Bowl, and a whole lot more. So thanks to JP, thanks to Johnny, and we'll talk to you later, man. Appreciate it. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com.